Mousa Fatima. Mousa Fatima. I cannot hear you, Mousa.
I can hear you now.
I hear you now, tamam Mousa.
Yeah, I'll be presenting here, Mousa.
Tamam, don't worry, tamam. Okay, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the 11th VESAL conference on the International Visible Conference on Educational Studies and Applied Linguistics. Welcome everyone. So I would like to start by presenting the, let's say, our outline for this session. So presentation will start right now, and so generally, I think each presenter has about 20 minutes, almost 20 minutes, and we will give some time for discussions, and after that, another presenter will start their presentation. So firstly, I would like to start by Mamsta Kurdistan, and I would like to give a short biography about Mamsta Kurdistan. Her name is Kurdistan Muhammad Qadir. She joined the University of Soleimani as an assistant lecturer in 2013 after completing a BA in English language and literature at the University of Soleimani in 2019 and an MA in English literature at the University of Sheffield in 2013. Her MA focused on an interdisciplinary approach to studying the 19th century literature, modern and postmodern drama, poetry, as well as film analysis, and the primary research interest lies in 19th century literature, particularly Victorian literature and Romantic poetry, modern and postmodern political theater, and gender and feminism. And Mamsta Kurdistan is teaching currently full-time at the University of Soleimani and as a part-time lecturer at TIU University in Soleimani. She has taught a variety of subjects on undergraduate level and English language courses and TEFL and IELTS courses at private language centers. I would like to give the stage to Mamsta Kurdistan to start her presentation, and let me share with you the slides before I invite her to this platform. Yes, Mamsta Kurdistan, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mamsa, and thank you so much for everyone who is present in this conference. I hope you have a great time with us, like both participant and the presenters all. So I would like to start my presentation because like Mamsa has already introduced me to you. My presentation today would be about verbatim theater, which is a type of theater, and there are a lot of definitions, but I would focus on defining it as a form of reality theater. So I would like to give you and direct you to an outline of what I'm talking about today. So I would share like my research abstract, what is my focus, and why I have chosen this topic and specifically focused on this like definition of verbatim theater, how it benefits us in general as normal people, as the public. So I would give the like a historical account of the type of theater, and then the various definitions for this term, and finally I will evaluate all of them and why I have explain why I have chosen like that specific definition. So first of all, to start, I would like in my research, I would approach verbatim theater. What is it? Actually, it is a controversial term in itself, and why the authenticity of verbatim theater is questionable. How can verbatim theater be authentic in its representation of reality and facts? And then in my research, I have traced the development of reality theater, and I have given a clear-cut definition of verbatim theater as a form of reality theater. So to start with, like the focus of my research is, as I mentioned, like defining reality, like verbatim theater as a form of reality theater. What is my purpose behind this? Why should we stick to one definition instead of like many controversial definition, and how can it save us? So first of all, the purpose of my presentation is connected to the emergence of verbatim theater, which has to do with like bias and the emergence of media in the like early 19th, like 1920, let's say, that this type of theater like has emerged. So since then, with the advancement of technology, so the government started using media, controlling media to distort the facts and to direct the public the way they wanted. And amongst this, a group of like playwrights started reacting to this one by thinking about transforming like media into literature, getting the active role of literature back to literature through theater and stage. And this one, like this type of theater in its different forms, reality theater, went on like this until 2001 with the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers in the United States, and the subsequent war on terror, when the world completely started to change. So many plays have been written, verbatim plays have been written after that time. So since the announcement of the war on terror. And we can say this has been described as a kind of revitalizing reality theater or verbatim theater. So for these reasons, which are still there around, and we are all as individuals suffering from getting factual information, and we are suffering from skepticism from all sides. Like tonight we hear something on the news, and tomorrow, like we believe in it, tomorrow we realize that like something else has been shown to us as the truth. So all these things makes us like the public, the thinkers who think deeply, to think about another medium as an alternative for media, for government-owned media. So in that like sense, we have theater as an alternative. However, through media, it has become questionable as well. So now the question is that can like verbatim theater be like take the place of the media and transform factual information for us? There are many different views that they doubt the kind of information that is presented through this type of theater as well. So for this reason, and this is basically related to the definition for not having a clear definition for verbatim theater. That's why there are many critics question the reliability of the information that we receive through these plays, documentary plays. I would start with the controversy of the definition around the term verbatim theater. So first of all, in the 1920s, we have reality theater. So it emerged like reality theater. And this form of theater was merged by Mumford and Great. By reality theater, they meant any play that deals with facts, which is based on fact. And throughout of time, so in the United States and in the UK, critics had different definition for this. So, for example, in the United States, this type of theater, factual based theater, is called documentary theater. However, in the United States, in the UK, documentary theater, reality theater, and verbatim theater are distinguished terms. So they don't use these two terms as like synonyms. For example, documentary theater is not the same as verbatim theater in the UK. So because of these controversies around it, so it is reliability and authenticity is questionable as well. And I'm going to show you different definitions and for verbatim theater and what is the problem with each. So first of all, we have it defined as a genre of literature, not even as a type of like reality theater. So here, Michael Billington describes this type of theater as a genre of literature because he believes that it provides factual information just like media that previously in literature we haven't had such a thing. So there wasn't any type of literature which is factual based. It was like basically fiction. At least the writers didn't claim that this is an ultimate fact that they convey. So he believes that because it invites new spectators. So this is more generalized, not just literature lovers. It's all like basically the public. That's why he thinks that this is an alternative medium for the media and it is a new genre of literature. And based on this definition, the playwrights can gather information from any different sources as long as it is factual. And based on the type of sources that they get, they can write on it. So the writing process would be different. It could be an interview, it could be like an official document, it could be, they could get benefit from media, whether to prove the opposite or to use it as a factual information. Nowadays, social media is on as well. They can get benefit from it apart from mainstream media. What is important here, according to this definition, is that the actors don't have to imitate the real characters, the characters from real life, which is a kind of not acceptable by some practitioners of verbatim theater. We can say one weak point here, and one reason not to go with this definition is that because if we define it as a genre and if it relies on different factual informations sources, then the problem of authenticity and questioning authenticity still stick there, and we cannot solve like this problem, and we cannot just eliminate doubts around its authenticity, which is its core purpose why it exists, and it makes no sense if we question this as well, like media. And we have another definition for verbatim theater, which has been treated as a technique of writing drama. So basically, if we go with this definition, this means that any writer from following any movement can use the techniques and say, here we go, I have written a verbatim play. And here, the thing is that the main focus is on the origin of the speech. In the theatrical text, it should be original. It should be written the way it has been spoken. So when it comes to this, like connecting this to the writing process and to the performance, what we have is that we can, like this definition, defining it as a technique allows us to get information from different sources, like face-to-face interview, like written testimonies, transcripts of court hearing, and journalism, recording of previous interviews, not the ones that's done by the playwright, and news report. So all these things makes it more like the same definition as that we have it as a genre in literature. And as for the writing process, this definition allows us to have different types of play and structure it in different ways. Whether it is tribunal, this means kind of asking somebody to court absently in an imaginative court, in like a fictional court, let's say, in the world of the play, or it is a statement or in form of an interview, or a kind of mixture of interpretative dance and text. This means kind of mixing music with drama. So all these types of plays, all these different structures are possible based on this different definition to rely on factual information. So the reason why I would treat this as a weak definition as well, and still it drags us to the same problem that we discussed for genre, we suffer from the same problem. Again, it is liable. It makes the type of theater, verbatim theater, liable for any type of criticism when it comes to presenting factual information, and it is authenticity. So I would move on to talk about verbatim theater as a form of reality theater, and which is like the definition that in my conclusion, I believe that this is the rightest one when it can save us from authenticity of the facts that this type of theater practitioners trying to convey to the public, and to solve the social and political problems that we are suffering from all over the globe, not only in a community or in one part of the world. So for this reason, I would quote Caroline Wake's definition. She defines this as a factual based definition, so like play. So this is more like the definition of reality play. And she categorizes reality theater or reality play into 6 types based on this. So a play could be realistic and present factual information while it is being like presented by the writer himself, telling the facts about himself. That's autobiography. It could be community. It could be verbatim. So here I take verbatim as a definition, and I will move on to this, like define this based on Caroline's perception. And then we have documentary theater, which is different from Caroline's definition. Verbatim theater and documentary theater, they are completely different things, but what they have in common is that they are a type of a reality theater and they present factual information. Then we have tribunal and history. So I would come to these 3, I will pick up these 3 definitions because they are being mixed up in their other definitions. So according to Caroline Wake, documentary theater focuses on like a wide range of documentary sources, not only interviews. And so any text that has different sources of factual information, collecting and gathering factual information, can be called documentary theater. And on the other hand, she distinguished tribunal theater from documentary theater by a kind of narrowing it down to and restricting it to those places which rely on formal scripts of only legal proceedings. And so it could be a legal case, a parliamentary inquiry, or royal commission. And finally, the last one, which is my like core purpose, is this one, defining this one, getting to this definition, is verbatim theater, which is purely based on interviews. And what makes it different from the other types is that this play purely makes on interview. So making a comparison between what the definitions that I have already explained and to the last one by Carolyn Wake, we can say that like David Paget, like any documentary piece that utilizes interview as it is essential like core material, can be verbatim. So no matter how you collect this information, it is called documentary like verbatim theater. However, for Wake, it is different. So for Wake, like documentary theater is equivalent to what David Paget calls verbatim theater. If they plain on this word, or let's say misconceiving these words, or the controversy around this definition leads us to that question of authenticity and not relying on these texts as factual information. So I would come to my result and my conclusion. I can say, in order to get rid of this like controversy around the definition of verbatim theater, we can take the last definition by Caroline Wake and treating it as a form of reality theater, which only focuses on collecting data from interviewing those who are involved in an incident and an event, be it local or international. Why I stick to this point of view? I think that is the only way to solve the problem of it is reliability and authenticity. One way to do so is to once you provide the script of the interview and you have the record of the interview, even if the writers, even if the playwrights get the words out of context, still, if you want to prove it right or wrong, we can go back to the interview records and we can go back to the scripts. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for being here. And if you have any question, you can ask. And I would be happy if you have any comments. It makes my presentation and my research richer.
Also, there are some participants in the Zoom meeting, so let's see. Guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and ask your question to Mom Mustafa Kurdistan.
So where can we? Mausa, can we just get to the...
So let's stop sharing first.
The chat box.
Oh, it's ready. Okay.
If you have any question, I would be glad to answer. And if you have any comment, it makes my presentation and my research richer. Yes.
I think there's no question.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for being here and presenting.
Thank you, Mom Mustafa Kurdistan, for your presentation. And so our next presenter is Mom Mustafa Fatima. Mom Mustafa Fatima Saadi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mom Mustafa Fatima, we can hear you. I would like to read something, a short biography about Mom Mustafa Fatima. Mom Mustafa Fatima Saadi Ali is an assistant lecturer at English Language Teaching Department at Tishik International University in Erbil. Mustafa Fatima is teaching reading and writing for freshman students at university level, and also supervising senior research project. And her interest is in reading and research and implementing technology into teaching EFL. Mustafa Fatima, the platform is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mousa Ahmed. Thank you for the session choice and the organizing there. I'm very glad that having you here as an audience to spend your time with my presentation. Hope you enjoyed the VESAL so far and hope to continue to the end of the session as well. Thank you. I would like to start my presentation about one of the topics that has been conducted while I was a master's student in the Cyprus, and the same time as a part-time teacher at there. It was a good time. It was a chance for me to investigate this topic based on the things and based on the class of the writing course that I taught there as well. Based on this, environment and these classes that I wanted, was talking about two techniques of talent taken system during collaborative oral pair feedback. It was repair and overlap. Let's see how that can happen in the classes via oral pair feedback, and also the aim of the study to investigate it. The overview of the presentation is quite clear for the introduction, aim of the study, research question, methodology, finding, and as well as we will have conclusion plus some recommendation for further study. And we will discuss at this point in this presentation. Of course, we all know that, in recent years, English as a foreign language writing classes became the place to practice students' work. How we will say that? We all know that recently students don't want to sit in the classes and listen to be as a passive voice and sitting in the classes. They all want to be integrated. They all want to be involved with the classes. As a part of this one that I focused on, it was feedback. How feedback does work in these classes? Does it helpful for their learning or not? Feedback has been pointed out by the two researchers like Nicole and McFerrin in 2016. They pointed out that peer review or feedback can make students writer and can make them to be independent. At the same time, it helps them, their part of writing will be critically viewed from the perspective of other viewers and help them to improve themselves as well. Has been concerned with the paper-based corrective peer feedback, either teacher to student or student to student. That means it doesn't mean that only teacher to student. It can happen student to student to view and critically on their paper basis. Of course, while they are giving view or giving feedback on the paper, there will be some interaction that is happening in the classes. These interactions, we will say that they are coming in the turn-taking system that can happen simultaneously in the classroom interaction and made research to investigate these phenomena. It means while I was teaching at the same time and investigating this point, I was wondering about that. I want to know how these systems can happen and can occur in the classes during giving feedbacks. We can define repair as a meaningful and allows speakers to resolve trouble in speaking, hearing, or understanding, as well as interaction as modified in the input in the classroom settings. The analysis of this conversation has shown repair for two that they want to be initiated as one, self, or others in these two cases. It can be shown in 4 sequences. self-initiated or self-repair. It means it happens in self-initiated or self-repair, and also self-initiated and other repairs will repair them, let's say, based on the given feedback. Other initiated and self-repair, other initiated, other repair they may do. The aim of the study was about to know how and when overlap and repair as a two elements of turn-taking system take place at the oral feedback and writing sessions. The researcher wanted to know how it can happen during the writing session and orally giving feedback to the next viewers, as well as how these elements happen on self-repair and which of them is taken most, whether self-repair or overlap. Based on the parts of the repair, which one happened more. And to see how collaborative feedback will help learners. Does it help them to be a learners, independent learner or not? This was all the aim that the study was about to investigate. To conduct this study, these three questions has been scanned. One of them, when does the overlap take place during a peer feedback session in a writing class? And how these repair sequences, as we mentioned in the introduction, takes place during collaborative oral peer feedback session in the classroom interaction. And among these repair, which one is coming more, or which one is taken mostly? To conduct it, or the methodology of this study, I wanted to mention something here. There was a course, it was academic writing that I taught at that time. And students has to write an essay about any topic that they were required, or at the same time they had interesting to do, to investigate. For conducting this one, a group of students in the writing course in English language teaching department of New East University of North Cyprus was, let's say, get as a sample of the study, and the qualitative approach was implemented to design the study, as well as collecting data was through audio recording. That means during their normal classes, the class was recording through audio recording to have the data, and later on we analyze it, let's say transcribed the session, and then we analyze it through conversation analysis to see the interaction in the classrooms and how this structure can happen and which forms of turn-taking system can happen, overlap and repair. Before showing the finding of the study, I want to have a look for the some convention the researcher updated, or let's say conducted this one. For example, if we will see this kind of, let's say, this kind of brackets, it means overlap will take it. And this row, narrow, and opposites, fall voice and rising voice. And also, as you see, it's written between two brackets in the SIG. It means speaker's mistakes. It means in this case, the researcher doesn't have right to repair, or let's say to correct this let's say speaker's mistake in this because of transcription. And then bold to repair to indicate to repairs, bold let's say content, or let's say text in the transcripts. Also, in equality, speaker will speak directly, follow each other without any, let's say, getting and interacted directly. The finding of the study, as you see, we have the transcript of this. The paper was let's say giving feedback of the Zara. It means Zara, when say yeah, she is ready to receive any kind of feedback from the other viewers during this session. The majority of the findings were that overlap were happening by protecting each student's idea on referencing during their feedback session. It means overlap will happen without telling each other, without getting simultaneously. It was happening. And here the overlap between Daniel, if you have looked at it here, it means that it's important, and he's showing himself, because Daniel was one of the students that was retaking this course, because he had a background about this kind of format, and this kind of, you know, let's say, giving feedback to the essays as well. He puts himself as a knowledgeable position to the others. Yeah, it is. You know, it's kind of supporting, as we see from the transcript. As well as not many overlaps are expected, as we can see from the transcript of the audio recording. We have repairing, as we explained it in a small part of this study. Repairing as one of the elements has happened. There were cases where the participant who speaks makes mistake and tries to make a repair in a low tone of voice. If you look at here, it's written, there is let's say a row which was narrowed down, fall down. It means a voice in a low voice. Let's say the participants trying to repair him or herself. As we see, Rosie wrote, right, in this one and parallel, showing the other part to her roommate. She was trying to, you know, to repair herself. Instead of saying wrote, supposed to say right. Of course, if you remember in the introduction, we explained types of repair: self-repair, other repair, self and other repair, these kinds. One of the repair was self-repair that happened by asking questions to the other participants of the session. During this audio session that they were giving feedback to each other, self-repair, as we see, it was happening because, you know, the participant knew that he is not or she is not in the correct situation, in the correct word that's supposed to say that. He was trying, or she was trying to, let's say, repair him or herself. Self-repair as one of the repairs, whenever the turns are taken, it means that they became an independent learner. Here it shows that, in this, based on this data, it shows that whenever they will repair themselves, they can be an, you know, independent learner to repair themselves and to improve in this case, in this skills, what in this, let's say, in writing particular, that's based on it. Out of the, let's say, conclusion of this study, we came up with that collaborative oral peer played a great role during the session in EFL writing, which it needs to implement more, which it needs to involve this one into the classes. And also it helps students to involve their class more. It helps learners to be independent learner in repairing themselves, as we could find from the data. And the study was limited to the topic overlap and repair in EFL writing classes. One of the recommendations that we may have it investigated more study based on the collaborative feedback in the classrooms. That was all for me. If you have any question, any concerns, and thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time to listen and to join us.
Thank you, Mustafa, Fatima. And
thank you.
Dear audiences, if you have any questions, please go ahead. Any questions, concerns? I will be pleasure to answer. I think there are no questions. Our next presenter is Musa Kanar. Ms. Kanar, thank you, Musa Fatima. Thank you so much.
I will give the platform to Musa Kanar.
Yes. I don't know if Musa Kanar is here.
Yeah, I'm here, Musa. Musa Ahmed.
Musa, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'll try to open the slides, Musa. Give us as a 2 minutes. Can you see? Is it shared?
Yes, it's shared. It's great. So Mausta is also an instructor
Yeah,
in
she is here. I'll give the
كان بدي فقط تتنمر. Mr. Ahmed?
No, Mausta Kanar, the
Shall I Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present my study, to present my research paper. The title of the paper is Adaptation to Online Learning During COVID-19, the Perceptions of Students at Tisch International University. Well, as we all know that the COVID-19 has resulted to the schools to be locked out, and many changes has happened in our life, including education system. And now globally, over 1.2 billion children are out of the classroom. Now they started to use their home as a setting of the instead of the classroom as a setting of learning. As a result, education has changed dramatically from on-site education to online education. I want to read about a small definition about. I'm sure that most of you know about it. I just want to make a brief definition. What does online education mean? It's electronically supported learning that relies on internet for both teachers and students interaction, and including the classroom materials. I have this was my courage and motivation to write a research project about the students' opinion and idea about the change that happens to them. For that reason, this study investigates if the students adapted to the online education and whether they like it or not, whether they're satisfied or not. The research design, it's a qualitative analysis study. The data has been collected through the interview. The participants are 21 students. They are taking some online classrooms. The questions has been prepared me, the researcher, that was a semi-structured, the questions that was semi-structured interview. The aim of the questions for the interview is to understand if the students adapted, if online learning has changed their skills and attitudes towards that duration, like during the online classroom, online education. Based on their suggestions and opinion, it seems that they adapted to online learning and they thank for online education. But on the other hand, the result shows that they dissatisfied with online learning. So they think that the online education that was not that much effective and powerful in terms of making their skills to be developed or any change in their attitudes. At the end of the interview, they shared some suggestions for making online education more powerful and more effective. For example, they do believe that some techniques the teacher can include it to their online sessions, and the detail about their suggestion will be mentioned in my full paper. That's why they suggest one of the suggestions is that the online education should be more motivating. Yeah, and these are some of the references that I took that I used for now. Yeah, Mausta Ahmed. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can write it on the chat box or you can unmute yourself. Yes, Mausta Lava.
Thanks so much, Ma'am Stakina, for your nice presentation. I just have a question. You said that the students are suggesting to have more motivational activities inside, let's say, in online classes.
Exactly.
What do you think? What can you give us some let's say, some exercises that can motivate or encourage them to participate more?
Yes,
because actually, as a teacher and as a student also, I have experienced that sitting behind a laptop or a computer or a smartphone is really sometimes boring to listen. So you just your mind goes away of the topic and you cannot focus much
you cannot
on what the teacher is saying.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma'am Salava. Actually, because because this study that was about online learning, actually taking the students' opinion about it, I was planning to make another research study to talk about the teachers, our teachers that they are applying online education. But for me personally, if I am a teacher, if I would be a teacher that I lead an online classroom, the to make it more interactive, I will add some other platforms like Padlet, Google Classrooms, the platforms that are providing games which we can use it, right. And you know that technology is everywhere. We believe the power of the technology, right. So I will integrate those platforms to my online classrooms.
Yeah, as let's say as assessment and as teaching also,
Yeah,
as
of
helping
course,
them
of
to
course.
encourage.
Both objectives. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma'am
I hope
Sakina.
I've answered your question. Thank you so much, Ma'am
Thank
Mustafa.
you.
Thank you so much, Mama Stakanar, and I apologize that I think Mama Stakanar is a assistant lecturer actually in Tishik International University.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Mustafa.
I'm sorry, Mama Mustafa. And our next presenter will be Miss Aziza, Dr. Aziza Kavlu, and she's also a lecturer from Tishik International University. I would like to tell you a short biography about Mrs. Aziza. So, Dr. Aziza Kavlu is a lecturer at the Faculty of Education of Teaching International University with more than 20 years of experience in education. She received her PhD in Educational Sciences in 2016 from the International Black Sea University. Her research interests lie in the area of project-based learning, PBL, students' motivation, teachers, professional development, and recently her research interests expand to several aspects across COVID-19 and 20. Pandemic, COVID-19 and 20 pandemic, and post-pandemic periods, which affects places in education. She has arranged various project-based academic posters and works exhibitions, and presented many seminars and workshops related to PBL. Integration of it to primary, secondary, and tertiary, tertiary levels of education, and she has generated numbers of collaborative scientific projects and evaluation rubrics. Mausta Aziza, the platform is yours. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are in the same room, that's why it's just a moment. Just a moment, we have something. Okay, so now, so we have some listeners in this room and online listeners. Welcome all. Actually, it's maybe we have been teaching since last year, since maybe May of last year online, but maybe it's the first time we're having international conference online, and I'm presenting an international conference online. So my topic is undergraduate students' perception of online learning during pandemic period COVID-19. So actually it was a big study. It was not only students' perception, it was students, parents, and community perceptions about online learning. But in this part today, that my paper still, I haven't finished it, I'm working on it. So today I'm going to share some, let's say, what I have found so far. I want to show you the short history of, as you see, of e-learning in TIU, but why I wrote Faculty of Education, because it in some faculties, maybe they only upload the videos, but we have these all, and I was in all these stages while we're starting. We have this online learning. The first, you can see it's a video, I want only to play it to you. You cannot hear it, right? Let me share the computers. Should I will stop share, then share my computer sound? Just a moment. Okay, of course, you can come. Miss Vinera is going to help us. Yes, please.
The sound is coming.
Here. İçinde var hocam, sıkıntı yok. Açın şerefi, baştan başlayalım. Tamam. Okay, so can you click on it? Let's click on it.
Planning, first of all, I want you to keep in your mind that planning, it's a sense of direction, feeling confidence, giving way for yourself, know what you do, how did you organize your class, what's your material, which media you are going.
Okay, can you hear us, dear participants? So, it was a first
to use. We already mentioned that's all. So number 9,
as you see, we have started with recording videos and uploading them. Then we had another type of teaching. We start using better. We start using colors and teaching, and then we have our live session. So that was a small short history that what we have done so far in our online teaching and learning. So that is a short history. So what we have done so far. And then what's happened at the beginning of the teaching online, as you see, the students used to open their cameras, and already we were pushing them to turn on their cameras. And then look, step by step, we started the as you see here also, you can see students didn't like they stop sharing or turning on their cameras, and we also maybe get tired to ask them to turn on the camera. So these are all advantages and disadvantages, handicaps of online learning. So in that case, what can we say? That actually when we have started it, we as a teachers and students, we entirely were actually, we cannot say that we were really ready for online or we had a really good online experience. So the short introduction, I did not put the outline that what I'm going to speak. I'm going to give a short introduction. I will a little bit to try to give a theoretical framework about it. And I will try to share the findings that I found after, like during my study. And then we have some suggestion and discussion part that still it's working. I'm working on it. As you know, and already Ms. Kanar mentioned before me, the pandemic period affect all of us. And what's happened, according to Ministry of Education and Culture, the higher ministry, we need to stop our on-campus learning, and we need to shift to the online learning. So what is online learning? Actually, there are many names. There is distance learning, online learning, e-learning, but we can see when you go through the literature, we can see that overall we call it e-learning. And what is that? It's not something new. It has been working since maybe 80s. You can find out in literature, it'll be interesting, yeah, that people start working on distance learning. However, there are different definitions, and there are two definitions that I put here, that it says using information and computer technology to build and design learning experience. And another definition of Elmer and Albert, he said that e-learning is a concept that use electronic media to represent by the internet, cities and mobiles and phones. Can you see us and hear us? Like I only want, yes. So, and any electronic stuff that can help students learn and can help teachers to teach. So in short, we can say that we can transfer knowledge by utilizing technology. That is in short e-learning. It will help you to give the students the chance to teach them during this pandemic period. So what was the purpose of my study? I want to tell you that when I assigned these questions to my students, the students were responding. It was exactly May or at the end of the May, and we even did not know that what will happen. We did not know that we are going to have that amount of within a year we are going to have that huge amount of article published in this topic. So that's why the purpose was to, as you see, to continue education and keep academic activities going in order to enable students to complete the 2020 academic year. It was the main reason that we shift to online teaching, and it especially in private educational institutions. So we try to find out what's our views, what's the perception of students, and especially also parents. But here we are going to elaborate students' perception. What do they think? Which type of benefits and advantages do they get, and what are the disadvantages? And we also ask students to state their solution for this problem as their Faculty of Education students, to improve their critical thinking and to come up with new ideas and state some suggestion for us. So what was it? It was the open-ended questions. Why I chose it, but actually, if you ask me, it's not easy to analyze the open-ended questions. So I personally did not want to limit the students. And when you have an open-ended questions, you can have a variety of answers. You can even have some unexpected responses that maybe you even did not think about it as a researcher. That's why it was an open-ended questions about advantages, disadvantages, and suggestions also was asked in an open-ended as an open-ended question students. And what did I do? The first part is with demographic details of students, and second part, the students stated their perception about the advantage and disadvantage, and in third part, they suggest their solution for challenges that they have faced. And what, of course, for this type of data, you need to compile it, disassemble it, and then reassemble and interpret. And of course, you should code it. And according to coding, after many analyses, you have topics, subtopics, and I'm still working on some codes. Yes, I already generate some codes, but I cannot say that all codes are generated and I come up with the main themes. Maybe there are 4 or 5 main themes, but I don't know, maybe still I can come up with any other new themes. So as you see, the most students were last year spring term students. Second grade, they are third grade this year. So we had male and female students from biology, ELT, mathematics, and physics, total number 159 students. As you see, generally, as you can see in second grade, generally in our university, we have more female students than male students. But while research, I only want to share in a break that I noticed that generally in our university, we have more female students in our Faculty of Education. But as an academician, we have more male students. Interesting. I said, so what's happened with the students who graduated? Where do they go? It was interesting point that I found while I was doing my research. So what are the findings? I will come up with what I want to mention about students' opinion about online education. I directly put their opinions, what they have written. So as you see, most of them mentioned that online education is not good, but that is good for the time that we were sitting all home and they were about to lose 1 year or 1 semester. And the 4th grade, maybe they wouldn't be able even to graduate. So that's why most of the students mention, what's that? It's not good, but it's solving some problem. For some parts, you can see I also put bio-female students. Let me use just a moment annotation. You can see I put bio-female students or ELT students. As you see, I only want to mention that most of the female students mention about the comfort zone, that they're really happy to have classes at home, that they can deal with their housework, and it's really good for them to have classes when they're home. And as you see, it's written ELT, but I did not write it's female or male. I only want to read it for you, but you try to guess, is it male or female? I think it's fine. I don't have much problem with it, but I don't like the social distancing part of it. I love being with people, going outside and meeting people, but this online education is preventing that. What do you think? Is it female or male? Miss Vinera, what do you think? Female, exactly. Yes, it is female. Yeah. As you see, you can even notice that the people, the advantages that they get is different. It's so comfortable for us as students because we can study in time we want it. Math student, is it female or male? We can study in time when we want it.
Male.
Exactly. Yes, Miss Vinera knows very well. So as you see, and the last one is from physics department. I tried to put the answer from all of departments. I think online education is so annoying to us, like students, but in this time it's a good because of COVID-19. That is one of the physics students. It is so annoying. What do you think? It's male or female?
This is male, female.
We have for female though this time that is male, but male and female both mentioned, as Miss Vinera is really good analyzer. It means that it's really annoying. That's really, it annoys them. That time, of course, it changed. It was for I want to highlight it. It's not online teaching. It was when we will record and upload it. It was, we can say, decent learning because it was the time that we were recording and uploading. It was really hard. Just a moment, let me stop it and go to another one. Just a moment. I need to clear. Okay. Okay, yes. So what advantages students mentioned? One of the students really pinpoint very important part that they said, and I noticed also from, like, I cannot say the percentage, but many papers also mention that for some students, like introvert students, it was really good, the online platform. What it was, it gave them a chance to be able to speak. Maybe they were not able to speak when they're in a class. They are not able to speak, to share their ideas, but when they were online, they were able to do that. Some of the students mentioned about it, but in spite of it's hard to concentrate, the online courses give them that they can watch it again and again, and even if they have problem with concentration, that they can have face this type of problem not only in online classes. The same problem students mentioned that they have them in on-campus classes. So what they said, what's good with online classes, if you don't have concentrations, you have chance to watch it again. But when you are on campus and you have online and you don't have concentration, so you lose it and you cannot have any chance to listen it again. So it was one of the advantages also. Another advantage was financial. So it was the coding, as you see. So home, comfort zone, and the concentration type of studying. And another, it was connected to accommodation, transportation. Students said, I spend less money, like I don't need to get taxi, pay money to stay in dormitory, and I'm at home. So they also mentioned these parts. So it means that we have also advantage of that part. And I can study when I want. They already mentioned that when I have I have energy. And another point that we can say, competence in technology. It's another code that I come up with, that students say that in online education we learn online skill and how to deal with technology. And another very, very interesting advantage that I was shocked, they said getting the passing grade easily. It was easy for them to pass this course. Maybe it was easy to cheat. That's why. So I want to come to disadvantages. What were the disadvantages students mentioned? Most of the disadvantages students mentioned, sometimes in Zoom meetings, the electricity would go off and I would miss some information. As you see, it was the beginning. Nowadays, most of the students, they have a power bank and they connect their maybe phones to internet. They start step by step, find out solutions. And the students, most of the students mentioned that they were not able to ask questions to the teacher and they needed to wait for a long time to get the answer from the teacher, and they need to have a self-discipline that not everyone has it. And many of students, they said that they did not have good internet, laptops, computers. So they were not able to have this one. One of the students mentioned, not one, and some of the students mentioned that cheating happened in online education, and then make students, some of the students do assignments the others did for them. And biology students especially, we can say that for departments that have practical sessions, they did not have a chance to have practical sessions. And it was what for handouts practice and practical session, maybe online teaching was one of the biggest challenges, that disadvantages the students face. So what suggestions students mention, as you see, there are some suggestions we cannot solve maybe as a university and as a teachers, like that suggestion, it was student suggestions, like the electricity problem should be solved, that we should remind teachers to record while Zoom and then send it. And some of the students mentioned that we as a students and teachers should be trained. Yes, at the beginning, maybe even teachers and we and students, they did not know how to use Zoom properly. And of course, students should change their places and should be far off distractors. So these are what students suggested. Of course, I will not do the results, but I want to tell you that is some points and codes that I came up with, like lack of assessment, the impossibility of practical sessions, technical and communication problem. And we say there are some positive issues, advantages, study on their own pace, time, place, not having problem with accommodation and transportation, and maybe if they can self-motivate them, it's also some of the advantages of these learning, let's say e-learning part. So as a conclusion, what can I say? As a pandemic continues, sharing these type of results can help people and educators to manage the university and to have more, so what they can get the results and can improve online education, not during still we have COVID-20 and during even post-pandemic period. So thank you very much. I put my photos after online classes, as you see, and I also put I took the photos from our VESAL. So as you see, that is what was, we have time to time after online. Yes, it was not only as a suggestion. So what we should not only take the students' perception, parents' perception, but we should also have the maybe analyze and find out what academicians' perception, teachers, lecturer, and also administrator and manager perception about what online learning, because it was not only hard for students, as you see, it's after online teaching, how was, and yesterday I found it when I ended my session and it was still on camera on, and when I was looking, I said, it means it was 3 hours. Imagine, I was teaching 3 hours, sitting on that place, and after 3 hours, I was in that way, and I took that picture yesterday, I screenshot it. So that's all. Thank you very much for listening. I'm done. If you have any questions, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Mamusta. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Aziza. And thank you so much. I don't think there are any questions. So our next presenter will be Tabarak Ali Qasim. I think she's here.
Yes, I am here.
Yes, Mrs.
Can I
Tabarak is
share
here.
my screen?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yes.
And after that, Mr. Unal, if we have any time left, Mr. Unal will present his topic. But we have only 15 minutes, almost 10 minutes left. We will proceed with Mrs. Tabarak. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Tabarak Ali and I am an MA student. I study English at the Department of English at College of Education for Women in University of Baghdad. My paper is entitled Pragmatic Transfer in Iraqi EFL Learners, Refusal Strategy for Marriage Proposals. So I am going to introduce you first the basic components of my paper. These are refusal, pragmatic transfer, and marriage proposals. Refusal is a speech act, and it is considered as negative response to initiating acts like requests, invitations, suggestions, offers, and many others. It has two characteristics. Refusal has two characteristics. It is a sensitive pragmatic task in which interlocutors need to manage refusal situations carefully. And second, it is face-threatening in nature, that interlocutors use a number of strategies so as to mitigate the negative impact of that of refusal and thereby avoid offending the addressee. Refusal is subject to several social constraints and factors like social status, distance, age, educational background, gender, and many others. So the focus of this study is refusal, and obviously it is face-threatening. It is a sensitive, pragmatic task, and it is subject to social variables like social status and many others. So it is the subject of this study. So second, pragmatic transfer. Depending on the fact that refusal is universal, it occurs in all languages equally, but it is performed across cultures differently. Thus, we find that culture plays a prominent role in the way refusal is performed, and it affects also the selection of a certain strategy for that refusal. So, non-native speakers of English all over the world may transfer the cultural conventions and rules of their first language and culture into the performance of refusal in the second language. So it is necessary for them to be familiar with the norms of the target language. The cultural norms of the target language, since the pragmatic errors are more weighty than lexical syntactics, and they usually result in communication failure. So this is the second component. The third one is marriage proposals. Marriage proposals are events where one person in a relationship asks for another's hand. The answer to the proposal could be either agreement, which is a preferred act, or refusal, which is not. So we find marriage proposal is a fertile ground for refusal to take place, and it is also an area where pragmatic transfer can be tracked, and it is also a context where refusal has never been tackled before by researchers. So marriage instances can take place across cultures as interlocutors from different countries socialize using the lingua franca English with each other via particular apps available on the web, and they develop relations that end in asking for marriage. And these relations are known as long distance relations or long distance love. These are abbreviated as LDR or LDL. So the objectives of my study are to figure out the most frequent refusal strategies that are used by Iraqi EFL learners and compared to the refusal, the most used refusal strategies by American native speakers of English. So in terms of level of directness, semantic formulas, and adjuncts. Second, I am going to, as an aim for the study, is to find the significance of social status on the way refusal is performed by the two mentioned groups in the context of marriage, and to figure out, and this is the most important part, to figure out the areas where pragmatic transfer takes place in these refusals. Methodology of the study involves 35 Iraqi female EFL learner, and 35 American female native speaker of English. The researcher used discourse completion task designed in Google form and shared via email, and it consists of 10 marriage situations divided to those situations in which the speaker is from higher status, equal status, and lower one. The responses of the two groups are compared to each other using the most common and comprehensive taxonomy of VESAL 1990. And to find, and obviously to see the extent to which Iraqi EFL learners can refuse properly in English. Now, we will move to the findings of the study. Both Iraqi learners and American native speakers of English favored refusing marriage proposals utilizing the implicit and indirect ways rather than the explicit and direct ones. And in terms of semantic formulas, so we despite the fact that there are differences, there are cultural differences, there are different conventions in the cultures, in the two cultures, the American one and the Iraqi one. There are similarities in which both cultures, participants in the study preferred the indirect ways, indirect methods rather than direct, and they also preferred, in terms of semantic formulas, they preferred to mention reasons, excuses, explanations. They use apologies. They use a statement of regrets and non-performative statements. They also employ adjuncts. Okay, that the function of which is to soften the negative impact of refusal, and these include statements of gratitude and appreciation, positive opinion and feelings, the pause fillers that show hesitation and caring for the interlocutor, and these are these were present in the refusal of both groups of participants. Again, both groups of participants use the strategy of criticism and threat to a relatively high degree, and this was employed in situations of equal status when interlocutors have equal status with the in between interlocutors there is no social status, and this was the situation of your ex who cheated on you. Would you accept his proposal? And the husband of your best friend, and this most of these responses and refusals include statements of criticism and threat. The use of this strategy was also one point to be mentioned here is the participants in the study, they made their assessment and they evaluated the situation, the severity of the situation, and they also take the characteristics of the person to whom, or the characteristics traits of the person to whom with whom they are interacting, and based on the fact that Iraqi learners and American native speakers are all female, so we find a fair amount of hedges, pause fillers, statements of principles and philosophy. So in regard to social status, we find Iraqi learners show no significance to this factor in their responses to marriage proposals. They use indirect strategies with higher, equal, lower status. They treated all status the same. Their responses were indirect. They were caring. They show due respect to their interlocutor. Okay, so there was no significance for this factor. Now moving.
Mr. Tabarak, I'm sorry, you have 1 minute almost.
Okay.
Conclude.
Okay, so a negative transfer and negative pragmatic transfer was apparent in the length of refusal, in the content, and in the order. Like, for instance, in the length, the Iraqis' refusal was lengthy, extended, detailed, and it was redundant. And this length can be attributed to employing multiple strategies and usually repeated. And they mention more than one reason for refusal, and their reasons were more like explanation rather than a reason for refusing. And in the content, their reasons and strategies were attached to characteristics and traits that are transferred from their first culture and language. And the order, the order in which they put their refusal is quite. It is not quite different, but it is to one degree, to one way or another, it is different from the way American formulated their refusal. They started with they use apology at the end and the beginning of their refusals. They use appreciation also in the same way, and so on. So, in conclusion and recommendation of the study, Iraqi EFL learners, I mean, in academic context in Iraq, they need to receive instructions. They need to get their pragmatic competence enhanced, especially in performing face-threatening acts like refusal. And due to the growing advances in social media, non-native speakers of English, I mean in general, including Iraqi, need to be familiar with the most appropriate ways of refusing and of refusing via the internet. And Iraqi EFL learners need to be familiar with the social and cultural values of English as a target language. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for your attentive listening. And if you have any question, please go ahead and ask.
Thank you, Ma'am Tabarak. If the audience have any questions, we are happy to hear. Thank you so much, Mrs. Tabarak. And our next presenter is Ms. Nawal Fazal Abbas. Ms. Nawal, if you are here, can you hear us? Ms. Nawal? Ms. Nawal, your mic is muted. You will have to unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Yes, please.
Yes, Ms. Nawal, we hear you now.
Yes, very good afternoon. Very good afternoon to all.
Tamam. So, Ms. Nawal, I don't have enough time. I think please go ahead with your presentation, and we would be really grateful if you can like summarize your presentation, and so we can manage the time.
Very good afternoon. Very good afternoon.
We can hear you, Ms. Nawal.
Yes, please. I just have one question for Tabarak, if you allow me.
Sure.
Tabarak, since you are trying a subject which has a sort of controversy concerning the application of the Speech Act of refusal, in what way you see or you evaluate your study as being significant to students and to those who are studying linguistics in particular?
Yes. Okay. So my study is not only significant for learners of English. It could be significant for those who use English as a kind of communication, and not necessarily they are EFL EFL learners of English or ESL learners. So it can be this is for it has a significance for readers outside outside the academic learning and the teaching environment, and it can be significant for researchers. It adds to the literature of linguistic studies. It presents the speech act of refusal and in the most natural setting in which in the real life. I mean, in a refusal and marriage proposals, it exposes the way that people and interlocutors in general express themselves not in a fabricated or false way, but in the most clear way. So it adds to the linguistic study, if that's what you mean.
Yes, thank you so much. This is exactly what I mean. On the whole, we can say that this sort of study helps to expose the culture of the American, for example, and make it available for readers and those who are interested in linguistics in general. Thank you so much, Tabarak. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Nawal, please go ahead with your presentation. We don't have much time. And
she's the second author of my paper.
So you guys have the same?
Yes,
sorry,
I did the
same.
presentation and she was
yeah.
there.
I apologize. So Ms. Nawal was the second presenter of Ms. Tabarak's paper. They both had the same presentation. Thank you all for joining the VESAL conference 2021. And we would like to see you again next year, because the VESAL is an annual conference which commences every year during this time. Thank you all for joining the program, and thank you so much. See you. Good luck.